It's not the silence that shakes them. It's the realization that you stopped caring and didn't even announce it. You've been told the same thing over and over again. Go no contact, disappear, go ghost and let time do the work. But let's cut through the noise, my friends. You really think silence alone is going to hit them hard? You think vanishing makes them miss you more? No. What actually hurts them, what truly shakes their soul, is when you're right there, visible, glowing, evolving, and completely unbothered. That's not no contact. That's emotional detachment with presence. And trust me, it's nuclear. Before we go deep into this one, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're ready to stop playing the old game and start leading the new one. This is not about ignoring someone. This is about becoming someone they no longer recognize, someone who no longer needs to be seen to feel worthy. And if that's where you're headed, stay with me, because this script, it's not just advice, it's awakening. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing in a room where the person who once begged for your attention now can't even get your glance. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're just gone, emotionally. Like a star that used to orbit their sky, but now shines in a different galaxy. They can still see your light, but they can't touch it. They can't reach it. And that, my friends, is what really makes them feel the loss. It's not the block, it's not the absence, it's the elevation they weren't invited to. You see, silence is predictable. They expect it. They've seen it before. You vanish, you come back, you ignore, then break. That cycle is worn out. What they never saw coming is your evolution. That's when it hits. When they scroll and see your glow. When they hear your name and feel tension in their chest. When they realize you're not missing them because you're too busy finding yourself. That's when the silence screams. That's when the game changes. You were never supposed to grow without them. You were supposed to sit there, waiting, checking, hoping. But now you're living, building, smiling, and not faking it for the gram. You're doing it because your peace became louder than your pain. And that's what they can't handle, because now your story doesn't include them. And the plot? It got better. Here's the truth, folks. Going no contact without growth is just sulking in silence. But when you stay visible and unstoppable, that's when you haunt them. And not like a ghost, like a legacy they thought they had time to return to. So, write this in the comments. I choose evolution over silence. Show the world your shift. Show yourself. This is your moment to rise, not retreat. To become so at peace, so full of purpose, that their absence doesn't feel like a wound. It feels like relief. Stay with me, because what's coming next will change how you think about power, presence, and pain forever. Let's go. Number 1. They expected you to go. Quiet. They didn't expect you to outgrow them. They can handle your silence. What they can't handle is your evolution. It's easy to vanish. It's easy to go quiet, disappear, block, and think you've done something powerful. But here's the thing. Most people who walk away in silence are still emotionally chained to the person they're avoiding. And you know what? The other person feels that. They know it's not strength. They know it's pain. That's why silence alone doesn't shake them. It confuses them maybe, but it doesn't cut deep. Because deep down, they still feel your presence. They still feel your hope, your ache, your eyes watching, waiting for some kind of sign. That's not detachment, that's hiding. And hiding never leaves a mark. Now imagine this. Imagine you're a flame they used to control, a small fire they could put out anytime they wanted. They'd test you, push you, play hot and cold, knowing that if they disappeared, you'd come chasing. But now, you're not that flame anymore. You've become the sun. You don't dim. You don't flicker. You don't wait for a matchstick to light you. You rise. You glow. You shine on your own. And they can't even look at you the same way anymore because your light blinds them with one truth. They underestimated you. They expected you to go quiet because that's what most people do. They expect men to withdraw, to sulk in silence, to stare at their phone screens, hoping for a breadcrumb of attention. And that's the problem. We've been conditioned to believe that silence is power. But silence without transformation is just another form of waiting. It's a pause. It's emotional limbo. And they feel it. They feel that you're still waiting in the dark, hoping for them to turn around. That's not how you hit them. That's not how you rise. So let me ask you something real. Are you truly gone? Or are you just pretending not to care? Are you silent because you've evolved? Or because you're too afraid to express how much they still matter to you? And if you're still checking, still wondering, still reacting, they know. People always know when they still have emotional power over you. They feel it in the way your energy clings to them, even in your absence. Your silence becomes noise because it's filled with need. But when you truly outgrow them, that's when your absence becomes a void they weren't ready to feel. They thought they knew you. They thought they could read you like a book they've already finished. So they closed it, put it on a shelf, thought they could come back to it later. But when they return, the story has changed. The book has new pages, a new title, and suddenly, they're not part of the narrative anymore. That's what shocks them. Not that you went away, but that you became someone else while they weren't looking. See, folks, growth doesn't beg. It doesn't announce itself with a grand speech or a dramatic exit. Growth is quiet, but it's visible. It shows up in your posture, your smile, your pace. It shows up when you walk into a room and don't even look their way. Not because you're avoiding them, but because you've outgrown the need to be noticed by them. And that realization, it hits them harder than any angry message ever could. Yes, it's difficult, especially when your heart still feels heavy, especially when your mind keeps asking, do they miss me? Are they thinking about me? Will they ever realize what they lost? But those questions don't lead to power. They lead to paralysis. And the truth is, they won't realize what they lost when you're gone. They'll realize it when you're better. When your glow-up isn't performance, it's peace. When you no longer need to say, look at me now, because everyone is already looking, including them. They'll notice when you don't chase, when you don't post cryptic quotes, when your story isn't a message to them. It's a reflection of you. That's when their confidence begins to crack. That's when they question their own worth in your life, because now you're not playing the game. You've changed the entire board. And let's be honest, this shift, it terrifies them. Not because they hate seeing you happy, but because they never expected you to be happy without them. They never thought you'd be the one who transformed. And now, every new version of you reminds them of the old version they took for granted. That's not just regret, that's ego collapse. So my friends, if you really want to break the pattern, don't just disappear. Don't just stop texting. That's surface-level stuff. Instead, become someone they can't reach. Not because you've blocked them, but because the man you've become no longer lives in the emotional basement where they left you. You've moved, you've upgraded, you've renovated your mind, your body, your focus, and they weren't invited. You want to hit them harder than silence ever could? Then stop hiding. Start shining. Be present but detached. Be visible but unavailable. Smile like you've never been broken. Walk like you never begged. And live like your peace was the prize all along. Because you weren't made to disappear. You were made to evolve. Write this in the comments right now. They expected silence. I gave them transformation. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer retreating. You're rising. And the best part, this is just the beginning. Stay with me. What comes next will expose the quiet power of presence without pursuit. and why it messes with their mind more than anything else you've ever done. Number 2, presence without pursuit. The psychological shift they can't process. Your power isn't in disappearing, it's in showing up with nothing to prove. There's a strange kind of silence that doesn't feel like absence. It feels like mystery, not the kind that fades, but the kind that lingers. It's the silence of someone who didn't vanish, didn't run, didn't block, but simply stopped orbiting. That's what they can't process. Not that you went away, but that you're still here. Calm, composed, and completely unavailable. That kind of presence hits different. It doesn't chase, doesn't plead, doesn't react. It just exists. It breathes, and it burns. Most people expect you to either chase them or cut them off. That's the pattern they're used to. So when you do neither, when you're simply present but without the emotional hook they once tugged at, you create a paradox they don't know how to decode. You're not gone, but you're no longer reachable. You're not angry, but you're no longer emotionally invested. And in their mind, this doesn't compute. Because people only understand power when it comes wrapped in ego or reaction. But what you're doing now? This is power disguised as peace, and it's unnerving. They scroll and see you smiling, but the smile isn't for them anymore. They see the glow, but they're not the reason. They catch your energy, but it no longer feels like an invitation. It feels like a locked door. You're not hiding, you're just not seeking. And that's what twists the knife deeper than silence ever could. Because in silence they can still assume you're hurting, still waiting, still attached. But when you're fully visible and fully unmoved, that changes the narrative. Now they're the one watching, overthinking, second-guessing. You're not posting to prove a point. You're not online fishing for their attention. You're just living, and that simplicity, it disarms them. Because they thought they mattered more. They thought your world revolved around them. And it used to. But now the orbit has shifted. You've become your own center, your own source. And they can feel the difference. Here's what most won't admit. When someone stops chasing, it's not the attention they miss. It's the validation, the certainty, the comfort of knowing they still hold space in your emotions. But now, you're giving them nothing to hold on to. No late-night texts, no subtle reach-outs, no emotional breadcrumbs, just air, clean, quiet air. And that's suffocating when they were used to being fed by your energy. This shift isn't loud. It doesn't require a grand announcement or a dramatic cutoff. It's in the small things, the way you stop watching their stories, the way you stop lingering in shared spaces, the way you show up, but not for them. You're building, moving, creating, and it has nothing to do with them anymore. That's what they feel, not your silence, but your indifference. And yes, they'll try to test it. They'll throw little signals your way. A like here, a vague post there, maybe even a casual message to see if you'll bite. But you don't. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've left the arena entirely. You're not ignoring them. You're simply done needing their emotional permission to move forward. That right there is the shift they never saw coming. They were prepared for ghosting. They were ready for you to block, delete, disappear. But they weren't ready for you to be present without being pursuable. And now, every move you make feels unfamiliar to them. Every silence is now filled with strength. Every smile they can't explain becomes a question that haunts them. They thought if they stopped giving you attention, you'd collapse. They thought pulling away would trigger you into overdrive. But instead of chasing, you grew. You didn't react, you redirected. You didn't spiral, you elevated. And that story? That's the one they never imagined they'd be reading. It's hard. Let's not pretend it's not. There were nights when all you wanted was one message from them. Moments when your fingers hovered over that send button, just hoping for something, anything that would bring back the connection. But you didn't give in. You held your ground. You chose stillness over self-abandonment. And now, That choice is echoing in their reality louder than any text ever could. You've become a mirror, a reflection of who they could have had, but now can't touch. Not because you're punishing them, but because you've leveled up beyond needing their response to feel whole. And when someone realizes they no longer have emotional access to the version of you that once depended on them, that's when the regret begins. So stay in your power. Let your presence be loud, even in silence. Let your peace speak louder than any plea ever could. You don't need to go away to be missed. You just need to be unreachable in the places they once reached you the most. Your heart, your mind, your time. Comment this now. I am present, but untouchable. Let it be your declaration. Let them feel the shift, even if they never say a word. And stay with me, because next, we'll talk about the emotional vacancy they left behind and how you filled it with something they never expected. Your own evolution. Number 3. The emotional vacancy. They can't fill anymore. They don't miss you because you're gone. They miss you because you stopped giving them the space they never earned. Let's be real, my friends. Most people don't actually miss you. They miss the feeling of being wanted, of being needed, of knowing that somewhere out there, someone is emotionally orbiting around them like the sun rises and sets, based on their responses. But the moment you take that energy back, the moment you stop holding space for them inside your mind and your heart, that's when they feel it. Not in their inbox, not on their phone, but in their soul. Because the thing that kept them warm wasn't your presence, it was your emotional availability. And now, that room is empty, the lights are off, the door is locked, and they're no longer welcome. They don't feel the loss when you stop texting. They don't crumble the second you go quiet. That part they've seen before. They've experienced it with others. Silence is familiar. But what they've never had to deal with is irrelevance. That's what this is. That's what hits different. When your silence isn't just quiet, it's peaceful. When your distance isn't dramatic, it's permanent. When the energy that once gave them emotional oxygen is now being invested into your own growth, your own glow-up, your own damn life, that's when they start to panic. Because here's the truth. No one wants to admit. Emotional energy is addictive. And for a while, you were their source. You showed up with consistency. You loved with no breaks. You gave and gave, not because they deserved it, but because that's who you were. And they got used to that access. They got comfortable in your loyalty, in your presence, in the space you created for them in your world. But they never thought about what would happen when that access expired. When the emotional room they once walked through so freely became off-limits. Not because you slammed the door, but because you renovated the house and they no longer fit inside it. They come back looking for the old version of you. The one who would reply fast. The one who used to overthink their every word. The one who used to second-guess their silence, chase their breadcrumbs, and confuse mistreatment for mixed signals. But that version of you doesn't live here anymore. And that's the part they don't know how to deal with. Because they thought the silence was temporary. They thought the space was being held for them. But when they return and realize the vacancy has been filled not with someone new, but with your peace, your goals, your self-respect, that's when it truly hits them. And don't get it twisted. They won't always show it. Some people would rather pretend they're fine than admit they lost something they thought they could come back to. They'll stay silent. They'll act like it doesn't matter. But inside there's a war going on, because nothing is more threatening than realizing the emotional grip they once had over you is completely gone. You don't respond the same. You don't flinch. You don't engage. You don't even carry the same energy. And that calmness, that stillness, that steady indifference, that's what makes them spiral, quietly, privately, completely. See, you didn't just go no contact. You didn't just walk away. You evolved. You replaced the part of you that used to beg for answers with the part of you that doesn't need them anymore. You stopped chasing closure and started building character. You stopped needing their presence and started mastering your own. And now, they're watching the emotional throne they used to sit on be rebuilt into something they no longer recognize. That's the vacancy they can't fill. Not the messages, not the time, the feeling, the emotional priority, the inner value they once had in your world, that feeling of being the center, the gravity, the purpose. You took it back, you reclaimed it. And the beautiful part, you didn't fill that space with another person, you filled it with you. And that kind of replacement? It hurts in silence. It haunts without words, because it proves that they weren't your source of strength. You were. So no, don't worry about whether they're watching. Don't wonder if they're going to reach out. Don't obsess over whether they finally feel the loss. Because they do, just not in the way you think. It's not about missing the conversations or the compliments. It's about missing the version of you that used to pour into them unconditionally. And now, that version has risen, matured, hardened, softened, healed. And healing doesn't chase. Healing doesn't beg. Healing doesn't make space for what once drained it. Healing replaces. Quietly, elegantly, fully. Write this in the comments right now. They lost the place they never thought I'd reclaim. Let that be your declaration. Let them feel that absence, not in your silence, but in your shift. Because while they were out there expecting a reaction, you were becoming a man they no longer qualify for. Stay with me. Because next, we're going deeper into the energy shift, and why it hits them harder than anything you could ever say out loud. Number 4. Your energy shift is louder than any block button. They don't need to hear from you to feel you've changed. Energy speaks long before words, and yours doesn't chase anymore. You don't have to block them. You don't have to delete every picture, erase every message, or make some dramatic exit just to make a point. That's noise. That's performance. What really stings, what leaves an imprint they never saw coming, is when your energy changes, and they can't access the version of you they once controlled. Because energy doesn't lie. And when you shift, when your emotional frequency rises above the old dynamic, they feel it in the silence, in the stillness, in the way your presence no longer bends to theirs. They were used to a version of you that gave without thinking. That stayed available even when disrespected. That forgave too easily and held on too long. You used to hand out emotional access like it was free. You used to check in even when they didn't ask. You used to care out loud while they sat in silence. And now, you're still here, but everything feels different. You're no longer emotionally accessible, not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because you've outgrown the emotional price of staying available to someone who only valued your attention when it was convenient. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Because people always feel it when the energy they used to feed off has been redirected. You don't need to say a word. You don't need to craft some cold, calculated goodbye. Your detachment is in your tone, in your pace, in the way you no longer lean in. They hear it in how you speak, if you even speak at all. They see it in how you show up without needing to be seen by them. That shift doesn't require announcement. It is the announcement. They'll try to tell themselves you've just been busy, that you're just distracted, that maybe you're going through something and you'll be back. Because the truth? They're not ready to face what your energy is screaming. You've stopped investing in them emotionally. You've unplugged. And for someone who was used to feeding off your light, your validation, your loyalty, that unplugging is a blackout they never prepared for. They start questioning things. Why do I feel like he's different? Why doesn't it feel like he's waiting anymore? Why do I sense peace where I used to feel pursuit? That's when the realization hits them. You're not playing hard to get. You're just not gettable anymore. And that energy shift, it's the moment their illusion of control cracks. You see, most people think they win by getting a reaction. They win when you chase, when you reach out to explain, when you break the silence just to feel seen again. But when you don't, when your silence isn't empty but full of self-worth, full of focus, full of purpose, that's when they realize they lost something they didn't even understand when they had it. You didn't just walk away. You evolved, you recalibrated, you reclaimed your energy like a king returning to his throne. And now, that same energy, the one they used to take for granted, is building businesses, healing wounds, creating peace, attracting new alignment, and they're not part of it anymore. That's the loss they feel. Not just the version of you they once knew, but the version they'll never get to meet. And let's be honest, this isn't easy. There were moments you wanted to fold, times when the silence felt unbearable, nights where you almost typed out the message, hovered over the story, checked their feed. But you didn't break. You stood still. You let your evolution speak, and now that shift in energy, it's not a trend, it's your new standard. They thought they had more time, thought they could go distant and still keep a space in your heart, but energy doesn't lie. And when yours stopped chasing, stopped checking, stopped hoping, that silence became a mirror, one that showed them not just who you were, but who you've become. And that version of you, unreachable, unreadable, unshakable, that version isn't punishing them. That version just no longer needs them. That's what they feel now. The absence of your emotional pull, the void where your energy used to meet theirs halfway. And no block button could ever deliver that kind of hit, because what you've given them isn't closure. It's a consequence, one wrapped in stillness, sealed in growth, delivered with grace. So don't get drawn back in. Don't dilute your energy trying to prove you've changed. Your silence is powerful, but your evolution is louder. Stay calm, stay focused, stay elevated, because while they were expecting silence to mean waiting, you let silence mean transformation. Comment this right now. They lost my energy, not just my presence. Let it echo, let them feel it. Let the world see that your power was never in blocking them. It was in becoming someone they no longer have access to. And stay with me, because what comes next is even deeper. We're going to expose the glow-up they never believed you'd have, and why it hits hardest when it's not for show, but for you. Number 5. The glow-up they never believed you'd have. They expected you to break. Instead, you became the version of yourself they never believed was possible, and now they have to watch it happen without them. Let's talk about something raw. Not the fake glow-up, not the one done for social media, not the one you post just to provoke a reaction. Let's talk about the kind of glow-up that's spiritual, the one that's built in silence, in solitude, in moments where no one clapped. That kind of transformation, that's the one they feel the most, because it doesn't scream, it radiates. And when they see you walking in that energy, when they realize it's not for them, not about them, not even near them anymore, that's when the weight of your absence hits them like a slow-burning fire they can't put out. See, they were betting on your collapse. Quietly, they expected you to shrink, to spiral, to become a shell of the version they once knew. They thought you'd fade, not flourish. They didn't say it out loud, but they assumed you needed them more than you did, that your identity was tied to the role they played in your life. But you did something they didn't expect. You stopped waiting. You stopped hoping. You stopped rehearsing conversations in your mind, trying to understand what went wrong, and instead you started rebuilding, not out of revenge, but out of remembrance. You remembered who you were before they arrived. You remembered what you wanted before you shrunk yourself just to keep the connection. And in that remembering, you reawakened a version of yourself that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't crumble. You reconnected with the fire you had long before they dimmed it. That's the glow-up that scares them. Because it isn't loud. It doesn't need their reaction. It doesn't even need their attention. It just is. You're showing up sharper, calmer, stronger. Not performing, just existing in your full power. And that version of you? It forces them to question everything. Was it really your fault? Were you really too much? Or were you just too pure for someone who didn't know what to do with your loyalty? Now you walk differently. You speak with clarity. You think in straight lines. You don't flinch at silence anymore. You flow with it. You don't need to be told your worth. You embody it. You've healed, not to make a point, but because staying wounded for someone who never cared to stop the bleeding wasn't worth it anymore. And they're seeing all of it unfold. Not through a grand announcement. Not through some post that says, "Look what you lost." But in subtle, unspoken ways that cut deeper than any caption. Maybe it's a mutual friend mentioning how much you've changed. Maybe it's a picture they come across by accident. Maybe it's just that strange void they now feel, realizing that the old version of you would have reached out by now. But you haven't, and you won't. Because you're no longer trying to show them what they missed. You're simply becoming what you were always meant to be. And that glow, that upgrade, that calm, it tells a story they don't know how to process. Because it proves one thing: you never needed them to be whole. You just forgot for a while. This is where it really starts to burn for them. When they look at the person you've become and realize they didn't believe in this version of you. In fact, they likely did the opposite. They doubted it, mocked it, maybe even tried to convince you it didn't exist. And now, that version is here, fully alive, and they no longer have access to it. And what hurts the most isn't just that you've changed. It's how fast you did, how fast you went from reaching out to reaching higher, how quickly you shifted your focus, how effortlessly you stopped needing the crumbs they offered. That speed, it shocks them, because people expect healing to be slow, to drag, to stumble. But you didn't heal for them, you healed for you. And that intention, it accelerates everything. They scroll and they don't recognize you. Not because your face changed, but because your energy did. You're not reactive anymore. You're not seeking anything. You're just present, peaceful. And peace is intimidating to those who thrive in chaos. They wanted you emotional, erratic, desperate, but now you're unreadable, focused, purposeful. And they can't shake the fact that they had front row seats to your rawest moments, and now they can't even buy a ticket to watch you win. So don't dim, don't explain, don't shrink just to make it easier for them to swallow the truth. Your glow up isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You're not becoming someone else. You're returning to who you were always meant to be, before their inconsistency made you question your light. Write this in the comments right now. My glow-up is for me. Let the world know. Let yourself know. Because this isn't about revenge. This is about resurrection. And what's coming next is the rise they never saw coming. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the moment their control stops working and their panic starts showing. Number 6. When their control stops working, their doubts begin. The moment they can no longer pull your strings is the moment their mind starts to unravel. People don't panic when you leave. They panic when they realize they can't reach you the same way anymore. Not physically, emotionally. They panic when their usual tricks stop working, when the reactions they counted on don't come, when the emotional strings they used to pull fall slack. That's when the fear sets in. That's when the doubt creeps in. Because it's not the silence that scares them. It's the fact that they're no longer in control of your emotions. You see, they got used to being the one who decided when things started and when things stopped. They could ghost you and return days later expecting warmth. They could ignore your messages and still know you'd check in just to see if everything's okay. They were never afraid of losing you. They were afraid of you figuring out that they didn't deserve to be kept. And now that you've stopped reacting, now that you've stopped showing up on cue, they're not confused. They're exposed. They used to think they could push and pull at will. They built comfort around the idea that you'd always be there, emotionally open, spiritually available, mentally vulnerable. But now you're calm. Now you're focused. Now you're no longer easily moved. You've unplugged from their system. You've stopped feeding the cycle. And the second you did that, the mask they wore, the one built on control and passive dominance, started to slip. This is the moment they begin questioning their grip on you. When you don't respond to their bait. When you don't chase the trail of breadcrumbs. When your name isn't in their notifications, but your energy is in their mind. That absence of reaction. That hits harder than anger ever could, because they expected a storm. Instead, they found still waters, unshaken and unreachable. They post something that used to provoke you, and nothing. They say something vague, knowing it would once make you spiral, and still nothing. They throw out a test just to see if you're still under their spell. And all they get is silence. Not the kind of silence that waits, the kind of silence that's moved on. And that realization that they don't control the narrative anymore is where their fear begins. They wonder, who are they talking to now? Why do they seem so stable? How did they detach so fast? But what they don't understand is that it wasn't fast. It took you countless moments of pain to get here. It took every unanswered message, every broken promise, every time you gave more than you received. You didn't just stop feeling. You grew tired of feeling for someone who never matched your depth. And now that you've stopped performing, stopped giving, stopped leaning in, they don't know what to do. Because the story doesn't revolve around them anymore. They're no longer the center of your thoughts. You've become the main character in your own life. That control they used to have. It's broken, not with bitterness, but with boundaries. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not distant, you're disciplined. You're not angry, you're aligned. And those shifts are unsettling to someone who relied on your emotional instability to stay relevant in your life. They needed you to be reactive so they could feel powerful. They needed you to be unpredictable so they could feel centered. But now, you're steady, and they're the ones spinning. And no, they might not say it. Most won't admit they're losing grip. They'll play it cool, act unbothered, pretend like they've moved on. But behind the performance, they're watching, they're studying, they're analyzing every post, every smile, every silence, looking for cracks, hoping to find some trace that you still care the way you used to. But the truth? You don't. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself more than the idea of being loved by them. You've realized that control isn't love. That someone who truly values you doesn't manipulate your emotions to feel wanted. They don't test your loyalty, they honor it. And now that you've unplugged from the illusion, now that you've stopped playing the part, they're left standing on a stage with no audience. And that silence, it's deafening to someone who lived off applause. So if you've been wondering whether they feel your absence, understand this. It's not your silence they feel. It's your shift. It's the new energy that no longer plays by their rules, that no longer dances for their approval, that no longer makes space for their chaos. That's what causes their doubts. That's what keeps them up at night. Not because you're gone, but because they know you're not coming back to the same game. Comment this right now. Their control is broken. I reclaimed my peace. Let it be known. To them, to yourself, to the world. Because once they realize you've escaped their pattern, all that's left for them is reflection. And for the first time, they're the ones feeling uncertain, while you walk in certainty. Stay with me, because what's coming next will shake the ground they once stood on, the moment when your peace, not your silence, becomes your loudest revenge. Number 7. Forget revenge. Choose radiance. That's what haunts them. You don't need to get even when you've outgrown the game. Your peace is the proof. Your glow is the closure. Let's end the illusion right here. Revenge is overrated. It might feel good in the short term. The fantasy of making them feel the way they made you feel. The urge to hurt them like they hurt you. But here's the truth. Most don't have the strength to accept. The real power is not in revenge. It's in radiance. It's in becoming the version of you that no longer needs to be seen to be valued, that no longer needs payback to feel whole. Because nothing burns deeper than watching someone you once controlled, once doubted, once dismissed, shine in a way you never believed they could. You don't need to destroy them to make a statement. You don't need to tear them down to rise. You rise because you remembered your value, and that alone is enough to haunt them. Because what they expected was bitterness. What they were prepared for was drama. What they counted on was a wounded version of you still reacting, still chasing, still waiting for some kind of justice. But instead, you gave them silence laced with strength. You gave them stillness that spoke louder than rage. You gave them a glow they couldn't trace back to them. That's what shakes them. That's what lingers. Because now, every time they hear your name, every time someone mentions how well you're doing, every time they see your progress from a distance, they feel the weight of what they lost. And not because you rubbed it in their face, but because your transformation made it undeniable. You didn't level up to get back at them. You leveled up because staying in that old cycle would have destroyed you. You healed because the wound had already stolen too much of your time. You moved forward, not to make them regret the past, but because you finally saw a future that didn't need their permission to exist. That shift in intention, that's what makes your radiance so powerful. Because it's not performative, it's real, it's rooted, it's resilient. And now they can't stop watching. Even if they pretend not to care, even if they block and unblock, stalk quietly, or ask mutual friends what you're up to, trust me, they're paying attention. But you're no longer performing. You're no longer dropping hints, trying to provoke, trying to be noticed. You've become a presence that speaks for itself. That's the glow that haunts them, the kind of glow that's built on discipline, not desperation. The kind that says, I don't need closure, I became it. That's not about winning, that's about liberation. And when someone sees you shine in a space where they thought they broke you, they don't just question you, they question themselves. They question who they were in your life, and more importantly, who they'll never be again. And yes, you'll have moments where the past tries to pull you back. Memories, old emotions, the temptation to prove a point. But don't give in. Don't go backwards trying to teach them a lesson. Your life is the lesson. Your consistency is the message. And your elevation is the sentence they'll reread 1,000 times in silence, trying to understand how they lost access to someone so rare. Because you weren't just someone they talked to. You were someone who gave deeply, who loved without restraint, who showed up without needing applause. And now, that version of you has evolved. You're still kind, but you're no longer available. You're still open, but only to those who come correct. You're still glowing, but your light is no longer free to those who couldn't see it when it was right in front of them. That's not revenge, that's resurrection. You didn't come back colder, you came back clearer, stronger, smarter, and now you move differently, not out of spite, but out of standards. And that difference, that's the scar you leave without ever needing to say a word. So don't dim, don't explain, don't engage in the petty games that once had you spinning in circles. Keep rising, keep building, keep glowing. Because your radiance doesn't just reflect your healing, it reflects the version of you they never thought you'd become. And when they realize your peace is permanent, that's when it finally sinks in. They didn't just lose you, they lost the chance to grow with you. So let's close this chapter the way you were always meant to. Not with revenge, but with radiance, not with noise, but with power, not with a scream, but with a calm that can't be touched. Comment this right now. My peace is louder than revenge. Let the world feel it. Let them feel it. And most of all, let you feel it. Hit that like button if this woke something up inside you. Subscribe if you're ready to keep evolving. And remember, this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of the version of you they'll never forget and never get again.